You don't want to hold your government accountable, but you want to hold a foreign country, a sovereign nation, somebody outside of your country, you want to hold them accountable. Please be for real. Welcome to Brazen Exchange. I'm your host, Vanessa Emadi. Get ready for an interesting conversation because there is something heavy on my mind, and I just did a bit of research and I'm coming here to pour everything out. So, turns out that when Trump got into office, in fact, on his first day, what he did was to ban foreign aid in Nigeria and other developing countries. And when I say foreign aid, I mean the aid that we receive in regards to health and education, I think, and some other areas, but mostly health and education. He put a ban on that. Funds stopped coming in, and that was it. The country, for at least the first hours of hearing this, was wondering what is going to happen. What does this mean for Nigeria and these other countries that are going to be affected by this? And it just, I was thinking to myself, so Nigerians have gotten used to getting these things for free. And when I mean by these things, I mean, for example, the HIV and AIDS antiretroviral drugs and other rehabilitation remedies that are being offered when you go to health centers that deal with that kind of situation or that kind of condition, rather. We've gotten used to that, thinking it's probably from the government, not knowing that these are benefits of the aid that we receive. And now that Donald Trump put an end to that, the country was just wondering how this is going to affect citizens. And I thought to myself, how did we get to this point where something as critical, as important as HIV was placed in the hands of foreign aid, placed in the hands of a foreign government, a foreign country, and not in the hands of our government in Nigeria? And why are we why did we just allow that to happen? Why were we so relaxed about it? In fact, nobody even cared. Just the fact that, oh, I could go to this healthcare center and I'll get this for free. Well, after all the crying and all the wahala that this brought about, or brouhaha, Trump decided after 2 days of that executive order to just say, you know what, I've heard you guys cry. Fine, we'll go ahead and put this out there, let everybody get access, at least for now. But then it's a warning. This is where he's showing himself like it's a warning. It's a warning, it's a warning. But then it got me thinking, anyways, what African countries are doing so much, are self-sufficient without foreign aid? Because while Nigerians were petrified, were worried about this lack of fund coming in anymore, there are some countries in Africa who not moved because they're not dependent on that. And I decided, okay, why not check out African countries with limited, that's a keyword now, limited resources than Nigeria, who are doing so much better, who are in fact, who are less dependent on foreign aid. Let's start from there. And I found about three major ones, and then I think two others, so that's a total of five, but majorly three, and we'll take that now. I would just like to mention that while the country was wondering how this would affect health and education, especially health going forward because of the heavy dependence on foreign aid, the Nigerian government has gone away with doing so much looting, so much mismanagement, so much corruption that you don't hold them accountable, but you want to hold a foreign government accountable for the benefits that they're giving you. Where is the accountability? I want to believe that our smartness is not just for show. We are actually smart. Why do we decide to apply this smartness or this wisdom in drops, in tiny pockets, depending on how we feel or depending on whoever is on the receiving end? You don't want to hold your government accountable, but you want to hold a foreign country, a sovereign nation, somebody outside of your country, you want to hold them accountable. Please be for real. So now I'll be sharing a list of countries who have limited resources than Nigeria, but are doing so much better than Nigeria and are also less dependent on foreign aid. Starting off first is Botswana. Botswana is a beautiful country. They have diamond, that is their resource, and they use that diamond really well. Unlike Nigeria, where we have a lot of resources, but our major export is the oil, our crude oil. They are very intentional about the money funds that they get from the transactions carried out using diamond. They are also very intentional about saving the money that they get from diamond transactions. And this has helped them so well because they are effectively managing their resources. They also have good governance, and they're very intentional, very, very intentional about not depending on foreign aid because they want to be able to serve their people well. You know, when you're depending on foreign aid, the person, whoever that is dishing out that fund to you, can tell you what and what not to do. But when you are less dependent on foreign aid, you know, okay, this is what I want to do for my people. This is what is best for my people. They are focused on building their policies. So they have strong internal economic policies, and they are also very much into saving the funds they get from their diamond resources. That's why they came up with something called the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is where they deposit every earning that they get from the sale of their diamond or from the transactions carried out with their diamond resources. They also invest heavily in infrastructure and social welfare because they are aware that what makes up a good nation is the citizen. Your citizen is a reflection of your nation, and if your citizens are not well taken care of, then that nation is definitely going to crumble. So they have strong social welfares going on. And when I mean social welfare, I mean they have good housing policy, they have good health care, they have standard education. They are really intentional about their people and about the growth of their nation because they know that when your people are well taken care of, your nation will definitely progress. Second on the list is Mauritius. Mauritius, beautiful country. People go there all the time. They travel for fun, for vacation, whatever. So you know that one of the things that they do, that they export to people, is tourism. They are heavily big on tourism. They have a diverse economy. So you have tourism, you have financial services that they render, and technology. So they're not just focused on tourism alone. They have things that they are offering, services that they offer to other people, other countries, that make people want to go there, that make people want to invest. But in Nigeria, while we have vast, and when I say vast, I mean vast, which I'll be sharing in a while. But while we have vast resources, we are only putting out oil. Crude oil is the only thing that we are all about. Meanwhile, we have so many other things that we can export, so many other things that can make people come down to Nigeria. But the only thing that we are heavily selling out, 90% of our foreign revenue is gotten from crude oil. So that's the major thing that we're giving out. Meanwhile, we have lots of resources that we can build on. The irony is that while we are the 10th largest oil reserve in the world and the 8th largest natural gas reserve in the world, Nigerians are finding it hard to afford fuel. Fuel is a huge problem in Nigeria. In fact, I don't want to get into the whole Dangote slash NNPC fight. Fuel is expensive in Nigeria. It is crazy how expensive it is. Transportation cost is high, inflation on a high. Everything is on a high in Nigeria, and this is something that we are depending on once oil is affected, every every sector in Nigeria is affected, and that should not be so because why? We have other resources that we can build on, that we can leverage on. But no, 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 we are only giving out oil, crude oil. So Mauritius has been positioned as a financial hub that makes them less dependent on external aid. They don't need it because they have tourism going, they have private investments, they have free trade with Asia, Africa, Europe. Things just working out for them because they were strategic about their country's development, and not just the country's development but the people. They care about the people. That's why they have good governance, they have good policies that guide all of these decisions that they're making. The third and final country that is less dependent on foreign aid and doing really well, despite the fact that they have limited resources, than Nigeria, is Seychelles. Seychelles have won it when it comes to fishery and tourism. They have one of the best managed economies in Africa, and they have a high GDP per capita. They are largely self sufficient, depending majorly on tourism and fishery and less on external aid. Finally, their governments implement very strict economic and environmental policies. And what do I mean by that? Let's start with environmental policies. First, they have this blue economy strategy, which was put in place to protect the marine life and their investments. For their economic policy, they have a regulated fishing industry where they ensure that fishing remains a long term source of revenue without depletion of their marine life. I also mentioned that they have tourism. So now there is tourism taxation where high end tourism gets taxed effectively. And this ensures that they have enough revenue to carry out their public services. Now that I have listed the top three African countries with limited resources than Nigeria, who are also less dependent on foreign aid, I'm also going to mention two other African countries they have limited resources as well, but they are working towards self-sufficiency. Now the other ones are firmly entrenched in self-sufficiency. They are there already. But now these two I'm about to mention are working their way towards self-sufficiency. First on the list is Rwanda. Unlike Nigeria, Rwanda gets external aid, but they're using it for long-term growth rather than for survival. For example, you have money and then somebody gives you money. You can now decide that, okay, you know what, let me invest this money that I have been given and use the one that I already have to take care of myself and my loved ones. In the case of Nigeria, Nigeria has money and they're receiving external aid. So I have money and somebody gives me money. Now, instead of me to invest that money that I have been given, I instead spend it all. In fact, I use it to take care of every single problem. But I won't even say problem because Nigeria, they are not taking care of the problem. They're instead there's heavy corruption in Nigeria, and that is a big problem for us. So instead of even using that money to take care, I would understand even if you're using the money to take care of yourself. But no, you're not using the money to take care of yourself. You are instead taking that money and you are giving it to somebody else, and you are saying, "Here is money, keep for me." In fact, I'm lost now. I don't even know how to explain Nigeria's problem. I don't know if you know how to use the right example, help me out. I don't know how to explain Nigeria's problem. But then you get the picture. It's a terrible situation that we are in. This Rwanda I mentioned, good governance, healthcare, education, sound. The other countries that I mentioned, healthcare, education, everything, they're taking care of themselves. They don't even want to, you don't even want to depend on somebody so much that they start dictating what you should do and what you should not do. They don't want that. They want to say, this is my life, I'm going to take care of my life the best way possible. The case is different for Nigeria, and It's where we are. I read on Twitter somebody says somebody wrote that anybody who says that this situation with Donald Trump and the foreign aid ban is going to open the eyes of the Nigerian government, that person is a foolish person. And while I'm forced to agree, I just think it's a very sad situation that we're in. That we can have resources, we can have money, but we are living so impoverished. We are an impoverished nation, and it's a sad thing. You know, when you have money, but you are living like you don't have money. That was the example I was trying to get. You have your money, somebody is giving you money, but you're still not taking care of yourself. Instead, somebody else, I don't know, somebody else is spending the money, but the person is still you. It's like you have a twin. I think that's the case for Nigeria. So Nigeria is a twin. One twin represents the citizens, the other twin represents the government. And somebody gives the twin money, though they have money, but somebody gives the twin money, and the other twin tells one that, okay, you know what, give me the money you were given plus the money that you have. I will take care of it for you. And so the foolish twin decides to hand over all its money to the other twin, and that one just spends it anyhow. Meanwhile, the other twin is impoverished, dying, looking sick, and just wondering, but my other twin has money. In fact, my money is with my other twin, but I'm not. Look at me, I'm suffering. That's the case of Nigeria, Nigerian government, and Nigerians. With Nigerian government and Nigerian citizens. The masses are suffering. Despite the fact that Rwanda depends on foreign aid, they are heavily investing it into infrastructure, into technology. They are trying to better their people. They are okay, this aid that you're giving us, let's put it to make us better. That's what they're doing. That's what Rwanda is doing, and I clap for them. The reason why they're doing all of this, investing heavily into infrastructure, technology, is so that they can reduce their dependency on foreign aid. Are you seeing how strategic they are? Are you seeing the wisdom they are applying? The case is different in Nigeria. The second country is Cape Verde, and while they are dependent on foreign aid, they are working towards becoming self sufficient. Their major export is tourism, they have good governance, and while they have a small population, they are doing the best they can. Their government is strong, they are focused on strengthening their citizens with good policies that will take their nation forward. So altogether, five countries: Mauritius, Rwanda, Seychelles, Cape Verde, and Botswana. Five great countries that are doing the best that they can with limited resources. There is a sixth country in mind, and that is Ghana. But Ghana is in it's a twin, it's a Nigerian twin. They are almost in the same boat with Nigeria, only that they are less corrupt. They have good power, electricity, and good economy. So foreign investors can come and invest. The economy is stable. You don't have to worry that, oh, today the price is this, tomorrow the price is that, dollar rates. You don't have to really stress your head about that. So in that way, they're doing well. They also have free secondary education, and they do that to improve literacy, to ensure that they have a strong working labor force, or at least a future labor force. The only issue is that it is underfunded, just like in Nigeria. Except in Nigeria, there's no free education. Even if they try and tell you that there's free education in some states, you have to go there to experience what they mean by free education. There is nothing free in Nigeria. I know I've been dropping hints here and there, but before I go into the problems of Nigeria, I'd just like to speak more on the economic and environmental policies that these African countries that I mentioned earlier, the policies they have. First, Rwanda has this ease of doing business reform where within 24 hours you can register a company. Another thing is that they have strict anti-corruption policies, and what this does is to improve investors trust. You want to invest in a place where you're sure that nothing is going to happen to your money. Yes is yes, white is white, black is black. Like I mentioned earlier, Mauritius has a diversified economy while Nigeria is just majorly, in fact only dependent on oil. They thrive on tourism, agriculture, financial services, and doing really well for themselves. So these are the things they're using to build their economy. I also mentioned the free trade agreements that they have with Asia, Africa, and Europe. So this free trade agreement that they have with Asia, Africa, and Europe makes it very easy for them to carry out businesses, lowers the cost of things. There's no prohibition when it comes to goods and services. Isn't that just wonderful? Why can't we have that in Nigeria? Botswana has the Sovereign Wealth Fund where they deposit the earnings that they get from transactions carried out with their diamond resources. And the primary goal of the Sovereign Wealth Fund is to stabilize their economy through diversification and to also ensure that there is enough wealth for future generations. So, what this has shown us is that if Botswana can manage their diamond resources, and use that to generate income, stabilize their economy using their sovereign wealth fund, we can do the same in Nigeria. Mauritius has also shown us that we can make things happen with a diversified economy. We can actually grow and progress as a diversified nation rather than depending on solely one resource, which is crude oil. So we need to diversify. We need to explore all our options. We need to start building on the things that we have so that there is enough creation of wealth, there's enough employment opportunities. There are so many benefits when we diversify our economy than just solely depending on one resource. So let's learn from Mauritius. And from Rwanda, we've learned that when you have good governance, when your policies are targeted towards the progress of your nation, investors will definitely come and invest. Foreign investors will definitely come, invest in your nation, and help build its foreign revenue. In essence, we need policy driven governance to achieve better outcomes in Nigeria. These countries have shown us that we can do it. They did it with limited resources and even limited dependence on foreign aid. How much more we with all that we have? We can do it. But first, we need to tackle the problems of Nigeria. We have a lot of problems. I mentioned earlier corruption, mismanagement, looting, so many things. UNICEF mentioned recently that Nigeria has 18.3 million out of school children who are not benefiting from education, whose right to education are trampled on daily. And what does our government respond with? Somebody comes out to say that the number is mostly because of Almajiri children. And when I say Almajiri is an Islamic system of education where children are, although they are not in school, but they're being taught Islam. Whoever came out to speak was saying that the number is mostly because of these Almajiri children. And for me, that is just a crock of bull because every child deserves education. Every child deserves to to learn. You know what it means when your mind is exposed, the possibilities, the innovations, the things that you can make happen, not just for yourself, but for your community, inventions, all these people that we hear about, Albert Einstein, the light bulb, the cars that we drive today, the laptop that we're using, the phones, the devices, gadgets, every single thing, somebody came up with that. And that was only possible. Why? Because of education. So imagine 18.3 million children lacking education. That is a future I am scared of. That is a future I am scared of because if they are not educated, what What good, what progress is going to come out of that? Instead, they'll be led by whatever people tell them. They'll be led by somebody's agenda. But education opens your mind. It tells you to question things. Is this right? Does this work? Is this what I should do? That is what happens with education. And 18.3 million children in Nigeria are out of school. That is a big problem that needs to be addressed and addressed fast. What about our health? UNICEF also mentioned how 2,400 children die daily from malnutrition in Nigeria. And why do we have malnutrition? We are a country rich in resources, like I have been dropping, like I have been mentioning. We are rich in resources, which I'm going to list later on. And somehow we are dealing with malnutrition. Malnutrition is a crisis in Nigeria to the point that children are dying daily because of malnutrition. The annoying thing is, this is a preventable condition. You don't have to die from this. But because of lack of food, the insecurity, that's another problem in Nigeria. The insecurity has really affected agriculture in Nigeria. Many people can't access their farms because of the insurgency with Boko Haram. So many things just happening all at once. There's so much insecurity, so much economic instability in Nigeria because of these conflicts that we have. And that is resulting in a food insecurity where children are dying daily because of malnutrition. That is a problem that needs to be addressed by the government. What about education? The ones who manage to go to school. Our public schools, like Ghana, are underfunded, but unlike Ghana, it isn't free. So you still have to pay something to be in that school. And while you're paying the little thing you can afford to pay, you are still not getting quality education because of the lack of infrastructure, because of outdated academic curriculum that they are being taught with. It's a crisis. We also have few functional programs in Nigeria. And when I mean few functional programs, that's in regards to welfare. In fact, there are few, they are weak and dying. Every time you hear things about pension, people crying about their pension, they've not received their pension in years. Why should that be a problem for a nation as rich, as blessed as Nigeria? Why should that be a problem for us? Housing is also a big crisis in Nigeria. We also lack infrastructure, roads are bad, poor electricity. There are some states, some communities where you go to, they've not had lights for years. For years, and it's only during election that the people, the politicians who, let's say, they have a bit of a conscience, will say, okay, let me set up a transformer just because I want your vote. Why should that be the only time when they're remembered? Why can't it be that because just because you're a citizen and because you deserve good things, I'm going to provide good services for you? Why can't that be the case? We are dealing with poor policies, corruption, inflation is through the roof. It's a lot. It's a lot for a country with vast resources. It's a lot of problems. It's almost like the more the more beautiful or the more blessed you are, the more problems that you attract. That's the case with Nigeria. It's like we have everything. In fact, we have good weather. We have everything that we need. Do you know apples literally grow in Nigeria? The apples that they sell, that people import into the country, they actually grow in Nigeria. Our weather is good for that kind of apple. We have good weather, basically, is what I'm saying. We have good weather, we have good resources, but somehow we are cursed with leaders who do not care a thing about us, and we are tired. We need to do better. This is 2025. After how many years of independence, and we are still struggling, we are living like an impoverished nation. That is not the story. That is not the story of the giant of Africa. You can't call yourself a giant of Africa if your people are dying every day. because of they can't feed, because of they have no jobs, because of all the wahala that they are battling with every single day. Even those who are working, work salaries not enough, not enough. You can earn something today and it is gone. Why is that so? Because of all the things, all the bills, all the taxes, the life that you're living is not conducive, it's not pleasurable, it's not good, it's not healthy, but you have to do it anyway. Why? Because you're in the country and you have to survive. Meanwhile meanwhile we had things like external aid that most people didn't even know that existed. They didn't know some of these things existed. They didn't know. And now that there's a threat of these aid being taken away, some people are crying wolf, cry. Don't you see it as okay, by fire by force? Why can't we hold our leaders accountable? Why why not seeing it that way, that okay, well, this is a time to hold them accountable. This is the time. There's no other time. This is it now. Look at all the things that I have mentioned. Go on your phone, read the news. Things are happening in your country, in Nigeria. Are you happy with it? Do something about it. Make noise. Make noise. If not anything, I think this podcast we are going to make noise because that's the essence of it. Make noise. This is my own way of saying I am not pleased with what is happening in my country and I want things to be better because I am not just a patriot. I love my country. I want things to be better in my country. I don't want to have to leave my country to get a better life. I don't want to have to leave to secure a good future for my children, for future generations. I want my country to be better. So we need to make it happen and fast and now. So why do I want things to be better in my country? For so many reasons, very obvious reasons. But first, I'd just like to highlight the benefits of being in Nigeria, what we should originally be enjoying. First off, we are blessed with oil and gas. Like I mentioned, we are the 10th largest oil reserve in the world and the 8th largest natural gas reserve in the world. That's a big thing. That's a big thing. But we should not be totally dependent on that. That's why I'm about to mention other resources that we have. We have minerals, lots and lots of minerals. We have gold, we have coal, we have limestone, we have lithium, which very good for batteries. We have so many things. We have tin and columbite. It's a lot. It's a lot. Nigeria, help me. Help me. Let us make this country great, please. Our leaders, have mercy. Moving on to agricultural resources, we have cocoa, we have cassava, we have rubber, we have yam, we have palm oil, we have granules, we have cotton. And these things are not little, are plenty. I'm talking numbers. I'm talking it's a lot. We have these things in numbers. Why are we not exporting these things? In fact, why are we not using it to feed ourselves? Why are we not using it to feed ourselves? Why are we not using it to create employment opportunities? Why are we not having the biggest farms in Africa? Why is that not something that's associated with Nigeria? Look at all that we have. We have water bodies, River Niger, River Benue. In fact, you see Lagos. Lagos is literally land built on water. We can make fishery a big thing in Nigeria. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. What about people? Human resource. Let's start there. Over 220 million people in Nigeria. Did you know that we are the most populous country in Africa? Yes, we are. So we have that number. Then let's talk about our workforce. The youth bears 70% of Nigeria's population. So that tells you that we have an energetic workforce that can be utilized utilized, but for underemployment and unemployment that's killing us, that is draining the lives of youth, that making youth run away from the country because they feel like there's nothing for them here, so they have to leave. Can we do something about it, please? For our future, for our nation's progress. Let's do something about it. I know you've also been hearing about the wonderful things we've been doing in foreign countries. We are killing it there when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to technology, when it comes to finance. Nigerians are killing it outside the country. We are contributing a lot to the GDP of other countries. We're doing so much. We're making things happen in other people's country. For Christ's sake, the Director General of the World Trade Organization is a Nigerian. That's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. That's a Nigerian, and she's killing it. She was made the Director General for a second time because of the wonderful things that she did. If she wasn't competent, if she wasn't doing a good job, they'd have kicked her out. But she's doing so well. She's a good ambassador of the country. These are people, Nigerians, killing it in other countries. So that tells you that we are skilled, highly intelligent people. See, I am proud to be a Nigerian. But all the wahala, all the troubles is sometimes you just want to cover your head in shame and say, ah, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. We are doing so much. We have so much resources, so much manpower. We are blessed. We are blessed. And when you consider the things we are dealing with in our country, it's just enough for you to sit down and cry and say, why? Why, oh, why? Why do we have to go through this in this country when we know that things can actually be better? We are also leading when it comes to startups in Africa. Like Lagos is doing so much. We are really striving. People are constantly inventing things, coming up with solutions to problems every single day in Nigeria, not just Lagos alone. That shows you that we are problem solvers too. Let's talk about entertainment. When it comes to entertainment, we are leading in Africa. Nollywood is the second largest film industry globally. That aside, music, hey, ha, all the things that people are enjoying outside the country, it's Nigerians. All the songs people are enjoying outside the country, it's Nigerians. Nigerians are everywhere. We are doing wonderful things. See how beautiful we are, from our natural resources, agricultural resources, human resources. We are an amazing people. We're an amazing people. And we've seen just how we can do better with our economy. If countries with limited resources and even less dependence on external aid, if those ones can explode in a good way, if they can explode in a good way, why can't we? So with good policies and good governance, that would definitely be our trajectory. You will see us making things happen in years to come. In fact, starting with 2025, we can start making things happen this year. Otherwise, the way we are going, Nigeria will end up in a pit. That's the honest truth. The way we are going, this Trump warning, this is just a wake up call. It's a wake up call for the entire nation. It's a wake up call to our leaders. It's a wake up call. We have resources. Let's use them for the betterment of the country. Don't just put it in your pocket. Don't just use it for personal gain. Don't use it for personal gain. Use it for the growth of the people. Use it for the growth of the country. Let's have good policies. We want to attract investors. Make your country attractive. Make it suitable. Make your people happy. Now, honestly, with all see the wahala Nigerians are going through, they still find a way to smile. So we actually don't even need much to be happy because we've grown so used to suffering, so used to lack, so used to having little that we found a way to make do. We found a way to thrive with little. Just invest in the citizens, invest in our resources, use them, don't abandon them, diversify the economy. Let's make things happen for the people for once. I hope we've seen the comparison between these other nations and Nigeria. We can draw lessons from them that we can use to make our nation better, that we can implement just to push us forward and make us less dependent on external aid. A word is enough for the wise. I'm your host, Vanessa Emadi. Till next time on Brazen Exchange. Goodbye.